Good morning, people of YouTubes. Back onto the Metro again. Hopefully in this episode we will be able to finish the electrics to a point where I'll just need a little bit of tidying up and get it back up and running again. So the plan is today is to get the battery mounted. So I've got aluminium battery tray, I've got a reel of battery cable to go into the boot, and we've got a fuse box / relay box, the proper MTA one, so really good make, nice quality as well for a universal box. So we're going to have the ECU power in there, we'll have the fuel pump relay in there, relay for the and fuse for the charge cooler pump, and all that sort of stuff. And that's just going to be a nice little pickup point in the middle of the car if we ever need to put any relays or fuses in. So that's that. I have done a little bit of work just off camera. So I've got all this loom all wrapped up nicely now. I've got my cable in there for my wideband F fuel ratio gauge thing. I've got my plug for my boost controller solenoid, which we're going to have to mount and fit. That's my fan plug, so we're going to have to extend that and sort that out because that's all been chafing and rubbing down there. So we're going to have to put a new bit of cable into there, and we'll have a plug in there, so it's all nice and neat. All the earths are done, so that's all good. What else we've got up here? So that's the boost control solenoid that we're going to have to put in. So we're going to have to make a nice little bracket for that and house that somewhere. Inside the car, again we've got all the gauge stuff, the boost controller stuff that will tidy up around here. We're going to have to sort out all this around here as well and get all that plugged and terminated so we can get the dash back in. I have now got some Lucas flag terminals for the back of the dash. Someone very generously gave me basically cut off a plug from the wiring harness from behind one of these dashes and posted it to me, so that's very kind. Yeah, so we're going to have to put in a terminal in there, and that will go to this plug here for the rev counter. What else we've got? I've got this little bracket here which I want to mount somewhere, so that will house them relays, because we've got the relay bits on there, and I think I might cut this relay back out and get that on there, so that's in the holder out of the way. But I think what I want to do is I'm going to cut this bracket down. I'm actually going to weld that to the bracket, and once I've done that, then I can take all that apart, sandblast it and give it paint, so it makes it look a little bit nicer. Yeah, and then obviously we're going to stick the battery in here. I think the fuse box relay box is probably going to go around here somewhere, so we can pick up the wiring for the fuel tank sender and for the fuel pump. So yeah, that is about it for the plans, and once all them bits are done and sorted, we should be ready to fire it up into life and see if it starts basically. And once we've done all that, then we'll be golden. Because in next episode, we'll be sorting out all the inside, getting all inside painted, and we have a delivery turned up. So we can get the roll cage in, we can get the foot plates in, and then we can obviously gut everything from the interior and give that a good paint. And I think what I'm going to do is, last time I just painted the floor in base coat, which I think is what they would have done from the factory anyway, but I'm not entirely too happy with it, to be honest with you, because you can see bits of it starting to chip up and stuff like that. So I don't know whether to lacquer it to give it a little bit more protection or not, or just leave it in base coat. It's hard to say really, because I don't want to put it all in and it then fails and I've got to take everything back out again to then repaint and then re-lacquer. So yeah, I'm in two minds what to do with that. So, but anyway, that's not in this episode, that's for the next episode, because obviously we still need to do all this stuff here and all that stuff there, but yeah, that'll be another day. So we are concentrating on finishing the wiring up to a point, so there's only just a couple of little bits to sort out and to get it started. Yeah, because we've still got to mount that. I've still got to make a plate to go over that, so that will mount on there somewhere, I reckon, on the new plate. That's the plan anyway, and sort out this water hose. We might as well get all that done in the same episode. And I have got my metal water rail for the MGF to get rid of all that, so that bit there will basically be a metal to here. So all I need to do then is to put a nice little loop in there to sort that bit out. Right, anyway, I'm waffling on a bit now, so let's just crack on, get some bits sorted. I'm going to make a start and lay out where I'm going to get all these bits and where I'm happy with them, and then we'll go to drilling and screwing. Right, I'm about 5 hours in and haven't really achieved a lot. I'll just show you what I've done. I'll start off with this area. So I've done some loops on here. So I've got 6 what colour is that? Purple, which is live, so permanent live, and I've got 6 greens, which are ignition or accessory 1. So I think that's first click on the ignition, I think, being that's the radio. And then I've just got 8 earths in there. So they're all low power stuff, so not really designed to take massive load, but that'd be enough to run the wideband, the boost controller, and also the switch panel that will be controlling the relays. So again, it's just a signal to the relay. I've got the wideband controller double-sided taped up there, and then obviously I've got all this excess wire here, which I'll just have to be tucked in the dash. I'll be cable tied up at the way, unfortunately, but this end needs to go into these, and also that end that needs to go into here. but I'll need to explain that because it's going to be a little bit of a tricky situation, in the sense of I'll probably have to have a little fly lead on there, because that will go into the dash, and then these will get plugged into here on a little fly lead, and I've got another plug on the dash itself. So when we go to remove the dash for any reason, it's literally a few connectors, and I'm not fighting with any wires that's attached to anything. Basically, that's the theory behind it all anyway. Right, so down here I pulled out the horn relay here, and we'll weld that onto there as explained. I've now got the purple wire on here, if I can, my little Deutsch connector. That's going to be fed to the back on the fuse box, and also I've terminated the fan wiring into the main fan plug here. So that's all done. I've measured the positive battery feed that will go onto that main post there. I just need to terminate that, but coming along here we got our battery positioned. That's all nice and secure. I've got this earth cable which will run from the earth post here, and then we'll pick up on this old seat belt anchor in here, so we've got a length of cable going all the way towards the back. And then obviously our main cable will go on here. I have got this fuse box panel thing here. You can see where I've done the riv nuts that will sit in on there, and I've got a few fuses. I've allocated 5 fuses up here. So what I've done is I've got a positive cable, red one, with a terminal on the end that will connect to the battery positive, and then it's just looped over 4 times to get your 5 fuses basically. And I've started doing the terminating all this. So we've got a fuse here which is our purple wire for the ECU. The next fuse here is for this relay, which is going to be fuel pump, and that's all wired in. That just needs tidying up. And the second one here, well, that third fuse there is going to be for that second relay, which, as you can see, we've already got our positive over here. So all we need now is the earth and then the switch, which will come from the dash. So I need to run another wire from the dash around here to follow this purple wire, and that will go into a switch panel, and then that will come out of here, a positive feed, and that will go to the charge cooler pump, which we're going to be mounting in that spare wheel well. So yeah, anyway, we've tidied this wiring up a little bit as well. So we've got our fuel sender wires here, and then we've got our fuel pump wire, a bigger wire here, that goes underneath the fuel tank, and then up here we've terminated on a Deutsch connector as well, because obviously that was, if I can, yeah. So this was how that was terminated in a relay. And then this is the plug that plugs underneath the tank as well. But obviously we've got that plug, that Deutsch connector there, which is our plug. So that's all nice and tidy. So yeah, we're getting there, slowly but surely. Just need to cut that tag down here. But yeah, that's all nice and mounted. That's, again, we've nutted in with some nice Allen headed button bolts. Let's just stick that on there. You can see roughly how that's gonna look. So yeah, nice and easy accessible is what I wanted, just in case we have any problems at the track for any reason. Right, let's go over into the other room actually, and I will show you what we've been doing in here. So I'll show you the front of the dash, if I can spin it over. So that's the front of the dash. We've got a switch panel in there, AFR gauge and the boost controller. So it's a really good condition dash that I got. And then around the back here we've got our basic loom, Metro loom, which is all plugged in by this fuse board here. And then I've managed to get hold, or someone sent me, I can't remember his name, I'll stick it up on the screen, but he sent me a cut off of an old loom with loads of flag terminals in there, so we can put as many rev counters into our heart's content. So thank you very much for that, much appreciated. The thing is, he didn't want any money for it. He spent £7 on postage to post them out to me as well, so massive thank you to you. Your name is on the screen, so that's really appreciated. So that's enabled us to terminate this correctly. There's another guy on the Metro forums which put a ring terminal and just gone onto there, which will work. He's proven us worked, but I like to be a little bit more OE spec, shall we say, than just a ring terminal that's screwed onto the back of the dash. But there's nothing wrong with that. As I say, it works, and yeah, that's that. Anyway, so coming around the back here, them big black looms that with cable tied up out of the way, they will go into here and here. And then we've got this plug here, which is our switch panel here. So we've got 3 lives going in, which will pick up from that radio plug. We've got 3 earths, and we've got 3 lives coming out when you switch the switch on. When you switch the switch on, I've made it so all the lights will light up as well. So that'll be nice. And then, as I say, we are going to have to make a little fly lead, which will be connected to that other loom, and we won't need to take it off of there. But yeah, that's going to connect from there, and that'll go into the other 2 plugs, the earths and from the radio basically. And then obviously we can get our boost controller and our AFR gauge wired into there as well. So there'll be a little fly lead come off here, that'll split off into positives and earths. That will stay on the chassis side of things, so when we take the dash out, hopefully all we need to do is unplug this one. So yeah, it's a little bit backwards in a sense, that we've got all these plugs and connectors. That is points to fail, but I'm getting to the point now where I'm thinking about it, and I've overthought it, and I've come up with that idea, and I've done all this work now, and I'm not going back. So that is that. But once it's all done, that'll all make sense. Anyway, I'm rambling on. As I say, I've been at this for about 5 hours. I'm bloody tired now, it's worn me out. So I'm going to go home, and we're going to pick this up probably tomorrow, if not, be a couple of days now, and we will carry on, and we'll get the other side of this plug wired into the car. These switches all sent down, so I'm going to send 3 wires down to the fuse box via that fly lead, and yeah, that'll be that, and that will be sorted. So all we'll have to do is then just put a relay in and one wire, and that we'll be able to switch something on with that. So yes. Oh, the other thing is, obviously mentioned this rev counter wire, and that obviously goes into here as well. On the wiring diagrams, it shows that it comes out of here down and connects down here on a separate 2-pin plug. So instead of doing that, I thought I'd just do it on here, because that's got to go into the body loom and into the body plug that we've done on the ECU side of things. So, right, again, I'm rambling. I'll try not to make it too boring. There's a lot of information to do one of these, so yeah, if you're interested, you're interested. If not, you're not. So hopefully tomorrow I can pick up the camera and I'll stick on a time lapse or something, because I completely forgot to do that, and we can, yeah, you can see how I'm doing things basically. Anyway, we'll catch you in the next couple of days.
The next day.
Right, good morning, good afternoon, it is the next day. I've viewed some of the footage that I did yesterday, and it seems like I was droning on a bit and I wasn't very happy, blah blah blah. I apologise for that. It is just, this has taken a very long time, and I'm starting to get a bit bored of it, to be honest with you. But again, I've been here today for the last 4 hours. I've been working on this, and we're starting to make a bit of headway now, so I'm starting to perk up a bit. The wiring is, I'm going to say 90% there now, as in it's all pretty much in. I'll take you into the inside at the minute. Outside haven't changed. The only thing that I'm going to have to do is I'm going to make a little fly lead for the fan as a temporary bit, just to join up to this douche connector. I need to mount this solenoid, and I think I'm going to mount it down here or down on the chassis rail somewhere, so it's out of the way. I've got a couple of little screw holes there, so I think, what's that, M4, might be M4, M5 maybe, so I might stick a couple of little riv nuts in the chassis here, and get some little machine screws to screw that onto the chassis itself, and then that's just going to plug in using that little, well, cheap Amazon connector. What else do we need to do here? A couple of vacuum lines I need to run, one for the boost controller, which is the reference, I believe, that needs to go into the back of the LD performance boost controller. So I'm just figuring out where I'm going to put that. I mean, at the minute this grommet here looks the likely suspect, because it's buggered anyway, so I might just feed that in there for now, and that gets it right in there, out of the way, and there's a short little run in there. And then we've got this here, which I believe goes into the port, maybe, not really too sure. No, actually I think that goes on to the fuel pressure regulator, and then we've got a reference and a thing for the solenoid. So that's for the fuel regulator. These two here, this yellow and this red one, is for the solenoid, and then it's just a case of plugging in the wideband, mounting this somewhere. I have ordered an MGF wiper and pedal box plate, which is sort of the same sort of thing as here, but I might be able to blank the holes off on that, and then mount that on there somewhere sensible. Probably get rid of this plate here, but yeah, mount that on there somewhere sensible, just so it's a little bit nicer and out of the way. The rest of the wiring in here hasn't changed much. Might have to put the charge cooler in, obviously, for the air temperature sensor itself. But yeah, we might do that for first start, because I don't want it to overfuel or underfuel, because it's not getting the air intake temperature. So yeah, we might chuck the charge cooler on there, although it's not going to have any water in it. That's going to be enough to measure the air intake temperature anyway. Right, going back inside the cab where I've done most of the work today. And the first thing you're going to notice is that great big battery cable. So as you can see, I've mounted the battery in here. Nice ring terminals, just the main live there, and then I've got this little live here which then goes to that fuse box there, and I've got a nice little cover on there like that, so it looks nice. And I've done the same for the negative, and I've just picked up the negative just on that seatbelt anchor there. Right, the fuse box at the minute, I've wired it in. Wired it in for 5 fuses, but I've only got 3 in there for now. And I've got the 2 relays there, one for the fuel pump, which is the one at the bottom of the screen, and I've got another one, that next one up, which is going to be for the charge cooler pump. And that's all wired in, and I've got my tail here to go to the pump, which is going to go somewhere over there. I've also wired in the other 2 relays, as in the sense of the positives and the negatives and the switch live. So the only thing I need to do to make them live is to put a couple of tails on them and put the relays in. So yeah, they're ready to go for more accessories, and they are switched to the switch panel on the dash, which I will show you in a minute. Again, I haven't done much to the dash, it's literally all been in here, but that's all tied down and all lovely. I've taped up all this wire along here, so that's all nice and neat with some nice loom tape, Tezza tape I use, and I've P-clipped some stainless P-clips and we've nutted into the floor, so we can unscrew them as and when we need to. And I'm not too sure whether I'm going to put our battery cable in here in these P-clips and then cable tie the loom to that battery cable, and then obviously come further down here. I've had to cut all these tie things here because I can't pop them out of the body and without breaking them, so I just cut them. I've got some more of the push clip things that goes into a 6mm holder with a cable tie, basically. Blind cable tie, or chassis cable ties I think they're called. But I think what I might do is get a few more P-clips along here, like 4 or 5, with riv nuts and the Allen key heads, just to hold this battery cable in place. But we'll do that as and when we do the final fit up, because obviously this has all got to come out yet to have all the floor painted and the cage and stuff put in as yet. So that's just gonna hang in there for now, cable tied out of the way, just so it's there and in. Right, so you can see where our main battery positive goes onto. There is a couple of like studs that stick out of the body, which you clip stuff onto. So I might get some P clips on there, and that will just hold them out of the way. Or I might do the same as what we're doing down the side here, and with nutter and P clip it all up. So that's that bit out of the way. I've loom taped all this up because this is all pretty much finished now. Again, we'll weld this onto here, and we'll take all this bracket off, sandblaster, and give it a coat of hammerite. I'll use the hammerite spray so it's a nicer finish, and then once all that is out, we can then loom tape all the rest of the wires up behind here as well. So that's that. The last thing is this bundle of wires here. So if you can remember the last clip, if not, rewind. But I had some plugs that I put in some lives, ignitions and earths, and I said about putting a fly lead in. So this is the fly lead here, that goes into the dash. These are the wires that goes to the fuse box at the back for the accessories. These earths goes into, that's all part of the switch panel, and then the only one really that we've got to worry about is the rev counter one. As I said, they normally have a plug down over there by the fuse box for the rev counter. But yeah, I'll put it into this plug here, so that's all ready to go. And then we've got our boost controller plug here, which is all wired in. That's all into the lives and the negatives. So just put that back in there. It's all a bit loosely at the minute, because I don't want to, there's all cable tied up and stuff, and all this big mess of wires here is all part of the add-ons for the boost gauge and the AFI gauge. So I don't really want to cut too much into them, so we'll tie them up out of the way. But I don't want to do that properly until the dash is in and we know it's not going to fold on anything, and you know, it'll be a lot nicer then. So it's just temporary for the minute. What else we got here? Yes, we've got our boost controller here, and also I've wired in the AFR gauge, which goes to that little box down there, and then that comes up into here. I'm pretty sure there was another cable up here that plugs into the back of the dash, or no, I think that's this one actually. So this one goes into the box and then comes out and goes into the gauge itself, and then this one here actually goes to inside the engine bay and joins up to the sensor in the exhaust. Right, I think that is it for inside here for now. Yes. So next thing really to do is to stick the dash in and live everything up, I guess, and just do the little bits inside the engine bay, and then we can see if it works or not. But anyway, I'll take it to the dash. So again, not really much has changed in here. This is the switch panels on about, and this is the connector for that connects to the body loom basically. So if we ever need to take this dash out, it's literally 1, 2, 3, 4 plugs and a load of screws, and we can whip that dash out then around the speedo drive as well. Yeah, so we can just whip that dash out, and that's not really, we ain't got to worry about other cables that we need to cut or redraw or anything like that. That's the theory behind it all anyway. And then obviously we've got this little ashtray bit here, which we can get up into to connect our connector into. So yeah, right, I think that's gonna do it for now. As I say, I've been here for probably about 4 hours doing all that, and I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna carry on and finish all the other little bits off in here. So the boost controller, the fuel regulator, put the charge cooler back in, plug in the AFR gauge, put the dash in, put all the fuses in, connect everything up, and then I'll cut back in and we'll go for a first start maybe, or just see if we got power basically. That would be a good start, wouldn't it? So yeah, right, we will see you in a few moments.
Several days later.
Right, it's another day once again, and we're sort of like wrapping this up now. I've just got on and done the bits that I said I was going to do. I have had it running, and we did have some issues, and we still do have some issues. Right, so I'll just take you around the general car at the minute. So I've got my MGF plate in there, and I've bolted the fuel regulator on that plate where the wiper normally bolts onto. So that's all done. Fuel lines are all in. Obviously the charge cooler is all in. Temperature sensor is in. And that was it right here. Oh, and the boost solenoid is in down here. Now I haven't attached it to the chassis yet because I have ordered, they do mounting brackets for these, so I've ordered a mounting bracket, so that's going to be here later on during the week, I guess. I'll be able to neatly mount that in the way, or out of the way I should say. Yeah, so that's the engine bay, that's all good and gravy. In here we've got the dash in, so that's all nice. I've taken the ECU bracket out and I've wrapped the loom. Don't know if you can see that, but I've wrapped the loom and I've taken the ECU bracket out and I've welded that relay holder onto the bracket, and I've given it a bit of a paint. I ain't gone too mad. I didn't sandblast it like I said I was going to. Literally just a bit of a wire wheel and a bit of hammer white paint. That'd be good enough for what we need it for. Yeah, so got the gauges and switches in. Now initially none of these gauges worked. Turns out it was a blown fuse, obviously because all the wire was just cut and hanging around at the back of the dash, so it's no surprise that it blew a fuse, to be honest with you. So that's all in. We'll go around the other side. We've got all the gauges in, the rev count all works and stuff like that. As you see, I've got the old P scan plugged in at the minute because, as I say, we are having a few issues. So yeah, the first issue that we had was obviously none of these gauges lit up, but they do now. The fuel pump didn't work, and it wouldn't crank. So obviously that was the fuse. The fuel pump wasn't working was because the battery was so flat that literally the interior light was just on, very dull. The oil light and the handbrake light was on, quite dull. So yeah, just chucked the charger on it, and that's brought everything into life. So we'll just turn it on. You can probably hear it all whirring away, so that's all good. Right, the next issue that I've got is that the battery light don't come on, and it don't seem to charge the battery. So I've checked my wiring from the alternator to the ECU and the body plug and all that sort of stuff. When it's plugged in, the battery light do come on ever so slightly dull. So I've checked my wiring, so I'm just going to say it's going to be an alternator, so we're going to have to order an alternator. So I think the previous person who done the conversion, if I take you over to the alternator, obviously it got converted to MEMS 3, which means it needed a plug type, and as you can see it's got some writing on it, so I think it's a second hand alternator anyway, and I believe the bearings to be a little bit noisy and the belt to be cracked. So we're going to put a bolt alternator on it, a belt on it, and hopefully that will cure that issue, but we won't know until we do that. I haven't got a spare alternator, well I have got a spare alternator, but it's not a MEMS 3 type, it's a MEMS 2J type. So yeah, that's that one. The next issue that we had was that it didn't crank on the key. Now, looking back at everything that we've done, I did notice that there was a separate wire wired in to the starter motor, and it was spliced into this white and red wire here, which is your cranking signal. So I automatically thought, right, let's have a look at that, because that's not right. And I think what's happened is when the conversion got done, the MEMS 3 conversion, that MEMS 3 conversion was for a 5AS, so you'd need to have the 5AS in there for it to give the earth to the cranking, or for the starter relay, which is that black box underneath the ECU, and that controls the oxygen sensors, the starter and the fuel pump. So I can remember when we done the conversion on the race car that I needed to earth that wire out. So instead of going to the body plug, which the manual tells you to do, or the wiring diagram that we've got here tells you to do, yeah, and then that obviously goes to the 5AS plug, which isn't plugged in, but that's down the back here. So I've unpinned it from the body plug and I've just put it into an earth there, and we got crank and it starts. So that is that bit. So we're all good. It fires up the ignition, it cranks and it starts. Now the big problem that I've got now is that it misfires quite badly, and it smokes quite badly, in the sense of it's over fueling. The black smoke is just, yeah, really bad, and it hurts your eyes. It's smoking that much, you can see it all just all on the floor and up the wall. So I've delved into it. I've checked the coils are sparking, so it's not that. The next thing I thought was that one of the injectors was obviously pinned in wrong to the ECU. Again, that was all fine. I've pinned all the injectors and they're all as they should be, basically. So they're all going into correct, each cylinder goes into the correct pin on the ECU. So yeah, I'm a bit of a head scratch. I've replaced the spark plugs. I don't think there's anything wrong with these. These are Ford Motorsport ones, or Motorcraft ones. So yeah, I guess they're for like a turbo engine, maybe a RS Turbo or Cosworth or something. But I've put in a set of NGK R's in there, brand new ones, so they're all good. So we eliminated that basically. And as I say, you put up the the lead out of the plug, and you can hear it sparking. So yeah, that's where we're up to. We've obviously put the P scan on. There isn't no fault codes in there. So yeah, I'm at a loss really. It could be that the injectors are clogged up for sitting around for a few months. I find that highly unlikely, as it's just chucking fuel out. So it's we've got spark. So yeah, maybe the timing's not right or something. I.e. like the coil is the wrong way round, so number 1 and 4 should be like number 2 and 3, if that makes sense. Not 100% sure, but again, I've checked all the wiring's good to that point. So yeah, I'm scratching my head. I think I need to go away, have a think about it, and come back to it another day. So I'm going to start it up because I don't want to disappoint you guys, and I'll show you what the misfire is, and then we'll end the video. Right, so we've got our ignition lights on, fuel pump is primed. You can probably hear it really lumpy. So yeah, that's that. Again, I'm not entirely sure what that could be. I've pinned everything how it was, because I made reference of where the pins were in relation to the diagram that I had, and that was all exactly the same. So yeah, I'm at a loss at the minute. I think I just need to come away from it and have a think over it over a few days, and then when we got a spare day, then just come in and have that as a main goal to rectify the misfire. But the goal for this video was to get the wiring in, get it finished, and get it started, and we've done that. So I'm happy with that. I'm just confused at why it's misfiring. So yeah, we'll come back to that another day. So I'm going to end this video here. Hopefully it isn't droned on too long and you haven't got bored and buggered off somewhere else. But yeah, thank you for sticking and watching if you did. And the next video, we will tidy everything up. We'll get this misfire sorted, and we will get it running down the road. And then once that is done, I'm going to book a Santa Pod Run What You Brung day and get a couple of hits in, just to get baseline times, and we'll start improving the car from there. So next video, finish up, get it running down the road, and all will be great. So thank you again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.